Asato ma sat gamaya. Tamaso ma jyotir gamaya. Mrityo ma umbritam gamaya. Lead me from the unreal to the real. Lead me from darkness to light. Lead me from death to immortality. These are lines from the ancient scripture, the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. Brihadaranyaka means vast forest or vast wilderness. It seems that the sages were inspired by the peace, tranquility, beauty and grandeur of the nature that surrounded them. Some people have a habit of announcing to unsuspecting folk that everything around them is unreal, false, all an illusion. And some sort of explanation may be given, but the hapless souls are too busy feeling insecure. I'm going to be taking a look at what is meant by the unreal and the real. Scientists say that the real world is the physical world, but a few are beginning to see it as more than merely physical. There is no clear line between the physical and the spiritual, especially with talk of non-local domains, the field, quantum physics and so forth. We have to be very careful when talking about what our real self is. We say it is our spiritual self, and there has been a tendency to denigrate the physical life, even though the physical body is very important to us on our human journey. The Buddhists will say that nirvana and samsara are one and the same thing. Nirvana is the noumenal reality that extends beyond all experience, beyond all knowing, beyond all understanding, and is the root or basis of the whole universe. Samsara is a fleeting experience of physical life, but they are the same thing, oneness. We are told that great expansions of consciousness, sometimes called initiations, of which there are said to be 5 during an individual's human evolution, they always take place at a time when the person in question actually has a physical body, though the main changes take place on inner planes. The Lord Buddha gained his final illumination when he was in physical incarnation. When we realize that he had already evolved far beyond the human level and had reached the heights of Christ consciousness, it is a very striking mystery. It seems that this world is just as essential for man's spiritual purpose as any of the so-called higher planes of our existence. We should not talk about the spiritual world, the real world, as though it was something up there. If all is one boundless whole, our physical body and personality can only be apparently separate from the spiritual realms. The simplest explanation is that the unreal is the manifest world around us, from atoms to galaxies, which is finite, fleeting, changing, and impermanent. The real is the unmanifest, which is infinite, permanent, and unchanging. Shelley wrote these beautiful lines in his poem Adonai. The one remains, the many change and pass. Heaven's light forever shines, earth's shadows fly. Life, like a dome of many-coloured glass, stains the white radiance of eternity. The pure white light of eternity at the moment of manifestation is differentiated by vibration into the multifaceted world of matter we call creation. Just as a white Just as a white light shining through a prism is revealed as the colours of the spectrum. In a cinema, the images appear through one imageless beam of light. If you look up, you can see it, can't you? Not that I've been to a cinema for a long time. The colourful universal drama is issuing from the single white light of a cosmic source. As Swami Yogananda wrote, with inconceivable ingenuity, God is staging super colossal entertainment for his children, making them actors as well as audience in his planetary theatre. Paul Brunson wrote that spirit and matter are merely mind and its idea. Mind is the first principle of all existence. We humans are, in essence, divine souls radiated from that universal mind. So one does not become the many, it remains what it is, and from it emanates the many. Mind itself has always existed. There was never a moment when it was not. By contrast, our thoughts and the world are transient and changeful. Whatever is real can never perish. Whatever is only an emanation from the real will eventually lose its form, but will not lose its essence. The world, like a TV production, has been projected through the medium of the senses and brain. It is not that the world is non-existent. It is built up by thoughts and has mental existence. There can be, and are, numerous forms of consciousness, each one representing a world to its inhabitants. By the ultimate stuff of these worlds, but the ultimate stuff of these worlds is one and the same. Mind, and each world is real in the experience of those in it. So all minerals, plants, and creatures have their own reality. H.P. Blavatsky in The Secret Doctrine says that consciousness on every plane is the reality of that plane. Whatever plane our consciousness may be acting in, both we and the things belonging to that plane are, for the time being, our only reality. But, she adds, as we rise in the scale of development, we perceive that in the stages through which we have passed, we mistook shadows for realities. The upward progress of the ego is a series of progressive awakenings, but only when we have reached absolute consciousness and blended our own with it shall we be free from the delusions produced by Maya. Maya tends to be used to mean any kind of illusion. In Hindu philosophy, it is actually the power of Brahman, the infinite, to appear as veil under temporary forms, from universes to a grain of sand. It would seem that Maya both protects and conceals. It protects us from an overdose of reality. I think here of Arjuna in the Bhagavad Gita, who asks to see Krishna's real form and then cannot stand to see it, and conceals reality until we are gradually ready for it in small doses, through intuitions, spiritual experiences, meditation, near-death experiences, and so on. So Maya is both the creative power of Brahman as well as the magical illusion hiding Brahman. Maya means literally the measurer. And what do we do in this realm of Maya? But measure everything. In the ancient Indian Vedic scriptures, Maya is called the principle of relativity and duality. The absolute is wearing a false or unreal veil of duality. Creation is both light and shadow. The good and evil of Maya alternate. If there were only happiness, would we wish for anything other? Without suffering, we would never remember our eternal home. Theosophist Dr. Lawrence J. Bendit said that Maya is the conception of things paired and separated. If we bring these together, it would be an act of yoga. Bendit says sees Maya as the relative truth. Where things are relative, there has to be duality. So the field of Maya is that of polarity, of pairs of opposites. When poles exist, there is, of course, a field of force between them. This is the basis of the manifest universe. In Taoist philosophy, the poles are called yin and yang. In yoga, the opposites are integrated by the Tao. Maya is made up of 3 properties of matter by which the universe, with all that is in it, is made to appear. Rajas, energy and activity. Tamas, inertia and density. And sattva, harmony, are in their numberless combinations and mixtures the objects and events in the world. These 3 strands, which we call the gunas, weave the ever-changing world and inevitably form that ignorance which for so long cuts us off from realization of our deepest nature. Illusion pervades all human life, and it is our lack of discrimination which prevents us from becoming aware of it. Examples of scientific knowledge show illusions which we are blissfully aware of. Astronomers have shown us that there are billions of stars in the universe, some in the process of formation, others disintegrating. Some of these stars are 500 or even 1,000 million light years away. We are shown photographs taken by powerful telescopes, but they show us now how the stars look millions of years ago. I don't think my mind can cope with that. It's amazing. What the universe looks like now will become known millions of light years hence. Even the nearest star we are seeing is about 50 light years ago. That's how we see it. At the other end of the scale, we now know that what appears to us as solid, tangible objects are composed of atoms and molecules, which are practically empty space. Now, I was going to say, but who am I to talk of illusion? I have no experience as an illusionist. But then I thought, hang on, I'm always creating illusions. Lots of people must do this. I see a black bag in the road as a cat or a dog. The classic example is the rope seen as a snake. I see blowing autumn leaves as sparrows. I see soggy autumn leaves as something I would rather not tread on. I'm always mishearing what people say. I walked into the room when the news was on and heard mention of the dance floor minister. It was a transport minister. I'm a bit like that. I'm not deaf, but hear things a bit strange. Without the aid of sight, it would often be difficult to distinguish things by touch. I remember the Girl Guide spooky game of feeling peeled grapes in the dark and being told they were eyeballs. Don't think much of the guide, do you? One year I bought a lovely blackcurrant sage plant. It looked nothing like a sage and smelled wonderfully of blackcurrant. Nobody said that is what the smell was. They were nowhere near right, because what they saw and what they were told, i.e. that it was a sage, did not match up. So they couldn't smell the blackcurrant. When they were told that it was a blackcurrant sage, they said, yes. We cannot trust how we interpret our senses. Several years ago, a Bradford Day-G called Alvin Blossom took part in a tea tasting session. There was one he really disliked. And I'm sure you maybe can guess now, he was mortified to learn that it was the tea he usually drank. Our world is our own selective interpretation of reality, not the world. This world image is determined in its character by the nature, sorry about that, the nature of things in themselves. But it is our interpretation of them that becomes what we take to be the real world. The physical world arises within us in response to sense impressions. The world we know is within us, not without us. Though the real world is necessarily the same for all beings, the interpretations of that world must always be different for each. We are only aware of our own world, and like the prisoners in Plato's cave, we are so used to gazing upon the back wall of our cave and seeing the shadows moving there that we forget and even deny the possibility of turning round and knowing the reality which casts the shadows. It is true also that what we think or expect to perceive is always interfering with what we actually do perceive. In his book, Space, Time and Self, E. Norman Pearson looks at 3 different fields of illusion. He looks at space in terms of dimensions. All objects have dimensions, size and shape, yet size is only relative and can be expressed only in terms of comparison with some other objects. To a man, a marble is small. To an ant, it must seem very large. Compared to the sun, the earth is minute. These are illusions of size. So we can see that nothing is small or large in itself, but only within a perceiving consciousness, which is comparing it with another object. Pearson reminds us that space itself does not have dimensions. Dimension is a mathematical concept developed by man to assist him in measuring space. Man, the measurer. Pearson suggests that we are overcoming the illusion of space by the development of scientific knowledge, so that we are learning to know the physical world and the nature of our bodies. As we gain more knowledge of the universe in which we live, we shall realise space, not as having the limitations of dimensions, but as infinity. Pearson next looks at time. Varying the circumstances can produce a wide difference in our mental reactions to equal measurements. Just a minute. Sorry. For example, a watch pot never boils. Doesn't time fly when you're enjoying yourself? Theosophist Ianthe Hoskins, I'm sure some of you will remember Ianthe, she wrote of the illusion of time. She mentions the places that seemed so large in childhood, now shrunk to insignificance. The frightening places of childhood which now have no goblin tenants. The tragedies of broken toys, etc., which now bring a smile. All kinds of times have passed when we would say, that was the happiest or worst day of my life. I'll remember that forever. Never again will I do that. These have all faded away and we are no longer moved by them. We have a new present. Pearson says that we are overcoming the illusion of time by developing our powers of reason, intuition, and wisdom. Lastly, Pearson writes of the illusion of the separated self, seen as separate from other selves. In the beginning, we think of the physical body as the self. Overcoming this illusory effect, called Maya, is perhaps the most difficult task before us. Maya is illusory, not an illusion. We often talk about Maya as being illusion, but it's actually illusory. Geoffrey Barboka, in his Glossary of Sanskrit Terms, writes, Maya is literally that which may be measured, which I mentioned a bit towards the beginning of the talk. In philosophy, that which is subject to change through decay and differentiations, hence termed the illusory world. Mastery of Maya can be gained only in meditation, in which the external affairs of our existence are excluded from the mind, and intuition is developed so that we can contact our inner self. We need to embrace the idea of the unity of all life within the one life. Theosophist Dr. Lawrence Bendick, he was 1898 to 1984, he suggests that we have to make use of Maya instead of being enslaved by it. To pass healthily from the unreal to the real, we must carry the unreal along with us so that we can remain useful in society and live a normal life. Let us make this include a full appreciation of this planet. In Plato's three aspects of the real, the good, the true, and the beautiful, the most accessible for the majority, the one that could lead to some awareness of the real, is the beautiful found in the phenomenal realms. What I want to ask here is, how did we come to be in this situation from which it is apparently so difficult for us to move? It seems that we have had, over myriads of incarnations, an incredible amount of experience. We are told that in the beginning of the manifestation of this universe, and this is in a nutshell, nay, in a mustard seed shell, there were three waves or outpourings of divine creative energy. The first was essence, or being itself, the very highest form of matter. The second was intellect. At this stage, spirit and matter formed a duality, and there began the interaction of forces. Also, knowledge or awareness came into play. The third outflow was that of manas, mind, expressed in bliss and activity. This is when the monads, divine sparks of consciousness, appeared. I like Robert Elwood's description. Countless monads awaken in joy and commence their long pilgrimage through the manifold realms of existence. And what a journey! This is me. We gradually evolve through several planes of existence, taking on denser vehicles. We even experience the mineral, plant, and animal kingdoms before taking on human form. And now we have reached the densest physical state and find ourselves in the process of evolution. We are on our return journey. I can't help thinking that one of the tasks of Maya is to prevent homesickness whilst we're on this long expedition. But there have built up in and around us, as it were, several layers of sheaths. We have physical and etheric sheaths, the physical realm and its energy field, the astral sheath, the realm of feeling and emotions, then the mental sheath, realm of rationality and thought, followed by the Buddhic or intuitive sheath, the highest reach of thought. Goodness gracious me, what a lot of sheaths. Annie Besant said that consciousness shapes bodies according to its needs. So we have all these sheaths or bodies to help us interact with the outer world. For the expression of higher consciousness, there has to be refinement of the body, brain, and emotions. What must change is our attitude towards the unreal world, so that life becomes interesting and fruitful. We can gradually withdraw from involvement in many things which previously seemed to be of vital importance. This is dispassion. We may take part, but our values change as we learn to discriminate. Lifting the veils of illusion means being able to remember who we are and what our higher purpose is. It is learning to see the world through the eyes of our higher self, knowing what is truth and what is illusion. We must learn to know things as they are and not be content with belief based upon appearances. Annie Besant said, it is in the practice of truth in thought, in speech and in deed, that there gradually awakens up that spiritual insight which pierces through every veil of illusion, and against which there can be in nature no possibility of setting up a successful deception. A great deal of work is needed over a number of lives. This is not to be considered onerous or unpleasant, for the practices have their own reward, such as deeper wisdom, serenity, and joy. How do you lift the veils of illusion? You start by asking your higher self to lift them and be willing to see what is revealed. Question things you have taken for granted. Explore new areas and see things as though for the first time. Sri Ram said, the way to reality, which is in the purity of our being or consciousness, consists in freeing it from everything that has been superimposed. We have identified ourselves with our bodies, our race, nationality, property, ideas and habits. It is the return of the soul of man to its original state, from involvement in things of pleasure and pain, its attachment to them, and the illusions caused by those attachments. It is the path of return. Earlier, I spoke of Norman Pearson's thoughts on the illusions of space and matter, time and self. He concludes that there have naturally developed three main paths of study. Firstly, religion, by which man will develop his devotional nature, eventually gaining mastery over the illusion of separateness and knowing that all life is one. Religion, when it develops the inner experience, will lead to bhakti marga, the path of devotion. Philosophy, by means of which a man is developing his reasoning powers, which will ultimately lead him to freedom from the illusions of time and his bondage to the passing events of life. Philosophy, which develops reason and intuition, can lead to jnana marga, the path of knowledge. So that's religion, philosophy, and thirdly, science, by means of which man is developing knowledge and will gain freedom from the illusions of matter. The illusion of space as dimensions can be mastered by knowledge. Science will lead to the karma marga, the path of action. The second object of the Theosophical Society is to encourage the study of comparative religion, philosophy and science. And H.P. Blavatsky in The Voice of the Silence wrote, before the soul can see, the harmony within must be attained, and fleshly eyes be rendered blind to all illusion. Before the soul can comprehend and may remember, she must unto the silent speaker be united, just as the form to which the clay is modelled is first united with the potter's mind. It is important on our journey from the unreal to the real to develop spiritual awareness. To this end, as well as meditating, we are encouraged to discriminate and to be dispassionate, so that we become less attached to the luggage we carry with us. There are also available to us numerous methods which have helped seekers, all with the same goal, but slightly different approaches. John Kabat-Zinn writes that the mindfulness of Buddhism, Mindfulness means paying attention in a particular way on purpose, in the present moment, and non-judgmentally. This kind of attention nurtures greater awareness, clarity, and acceptance of present moment reality. It wakes us up to the fact that our lives unfold only in moments. If we are not fully present for many of these moments, we may not only miss what is most valuable in our lives, but also fail to realise the richness and the depth of our possibilities for growth and transformation. Eckhart Tolle, in The Power of Now, writes, "Find the narrow gate that leads to life. It is called the now. Narrow your life down to this moment. Use your senses fully. Be where you are. Look around. Just look, don't interpret. See the light, shapes, colours, textures. Be aware of the silent presence of each being, each thing. Be aware of the space that allows everything to be. Listen to the sounds, don't judge them. Listen to the silence underneath the sounds. Touch something, anything, and feel and acknowledge its being. Allow everything to be, within and without. Allow the isness of all things. Move deeply into the now." So there's plenty to inspire us depending on our personality and our needs. And to finish, the first verse of a poem, which I like, but it may not suit you. It's by Paul Hookham. It's called A Meditation, and it's verse 1. "The self is peace. That self am I. The self is strength. That self am I. What needs this trembling strife with phantom threats of form and time and space? Could once my life be shorn of their illusion and effaced from its clear heaven, that stormful imagery, myself were seen, an essence free, unchanging, strong, serene." Thank you.